Y'all dealing with the king. If you wanna come and get it, let the outlaw get you out your seats. You want sports talk politics? He don't give a shit. Rocha says speak, follow it. About to issue y'all a masterclass. You wanna pass? Gunslinging the new podcast, eat candy ass. Grab a top bench, get information. It's your boy John Rocha. Welcome to the Outlaw Nation.
All right, welcome everybody to a very special episode of the Outlaw Nation podcast. Don't adjust your audio, earphones, or your computer, whatever the hell you're listening to this on, because the car noise is on purpose. We are driving down to Comic-Con. That's right, this is a live podcast. There it is. That's my boys. We've been driving down for the last, 3 or 4 years? We've been going down together. Let me introduce them all. We're going to record about an hour just talking about Comic-Con, talking about our favorite Comic-Con memories. And maybe we'll get to talk about and maybe compile a top 10 comic book movies list for you all listening to us now. So let's introduce everybody here on the podcast. You guys know already I am the Outlaw, a.k.a. John Rocha. But let's introduce everybody. Sitting to my left and driving the car, the amazing executive of the year, writer of multiple lyrics, writer of multiple episodes, and one of my oldest friends, almost 20 years now. 20 years. Good God almighty. The amazing Michael Vogel. Michael, welcome to the Outlaw Nation podcast.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you very much. And keep your seatbelt on.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And behind me over here, and directly behind me, one of the hosts of DC Movie News. You guys know him as the killer on the Schmoedown. Actor extraordinaire and occasional host of things and VIP goer. What else could you say about him? What else would you say about him? Cosplayer, incredible cosplayer.
I like to build those costumes and stuff. Yeah,
that's right. And my personal favorite, I always call him Puddin'. That's Mike Kalinowski.
Welcome. It is a pleasure to be here. I gotta say, first off, you were gonna say, hey, we're gonna record this, and I sent the wrong emoji to you.
You did.
You were snapping at me about it.
You did.
I meant the sunglasses.
Yeah, you did.
Because it's an honor to be here. You kidding me? On the way to Comic-Con? This is my favorite group of guys in the car here.
That's right.
I can't wait.
Yeah, we do this every year. Like people, even at the station we're at, we don't fly in. So every once in a while, we've taken the train before, and in fact, the person I've taken the train with is the fourth person in the car here, all behind Michael Vogel in the passenger seat. Another fantastic actor. You've seen him in multiple things like Silicon Valley. Recently, he was on a 2020 special doing a dramatization. He was on Friends from College? Friends from College. He's done numerous shows. And he's also one of my favorite people on the planet. The incredible, indomitable, unique, and amazing Shannon McClung.
Oh, thank you, Johnny. And we just had Michael just hit the brakes very forcefully because he got caught up in all this entertainment.
We're not gonna live through this podcast, just so everybody's aware. This is the Outlaw's final podcast.
Just so we're clear, I'm holding the mic. Michael is driving. Michael is not holding a mic and driving. He is just driving. So
he's very talented, but his ability to multitask while behind the wheel, not so good.
That's right. So anyway, so for those of you guys who don't know, Comic-Con is something that happens every year in San Diego. I don't know, for what over 20 years now, right? Or maybe almost 25.
Since the 70s, right?
Is it 70s? Okay, since the 70s. Yeah, it started as a really small thing in a room, and it's really blown up to what it is now. And it's at the San Diego Convention Center every year, and usually in July. And we've gone down, and you can go down from like Wednesday to Sunday, or you go down 1-day passes or 2-day passes. They do all kinds of ways you can get there. And of course, it showcases comic book artists, comic book stuff, superhero movies, TV shows. It's really branched out to cover pretty much any kind of media that you enjoy on a daily basis. It's all there at Comic-Con. And of course, it's a madhouse now, and it used to be a lot easier to go to panels and do stuff like that. And so what I want to talk about is everybody's first experience with Comic-Con. What was your first year? What did you enjoy about it? What made you keep coming back? So let's start with the person who's been to the most Comic-Cons in the car, I would think. Michael, what was your first Comic-Con? When was that?
God, it was, I don't even know how many years ago it was. I came down for the day with some friends of ours, Steve Morris, Jeff Johnson, Megan Crane. We had a day pass. We parked down the street in the Gaslamp District, walked to the convention center, spent an afternoon walking around, kind of checking everything out. I don't even think I saw a panel. I think I just walked around on the floor, maybe bought a couple comic books, saw some things, and then we left, and that was it. And compared to what we do now, it's a completely different experience, but I was hooked, just surrounded by fellow geeks, people in costumes. I just dug it. I think I saw a family of Klingons, I was like, yeah, these are my people. And then a few years later, I started coming down for work with Sony Television. And then after that, came down for work with Hasbro. And I've been going ever since. And it's been fun. Actually, for several years, you guys have enjoyed the benefits of coming down with somebody working for a studio because you slept in my room for free.
That's right. We've slept in some nice rooms for free. That gravy train reached its final stop a couple of years ago. So, unfortunately, we all pay now for one night while we go down. And we do go down for all 4 days, right? It's usually that's how we do it, right, Mike?
That is correct.
Did you do that the first time?
No, first time was a day trip, but I think after that, every time since then, we've done Wednesday to Sunday, and it's just been great to see it grow and get bigger, and our friends come with us, and it's actually really fun, kind of as you were saying, as we all kind of move up in our careers, that coming down just as fans, and then over time watching all of us come down, you know, and you're doing some podcasts down here, everybody's got some events to do, and it's kind of fun watching us go from just crazy fanboys to crazy fanboys who also have fan jobs.
Yeah, it's weird. Yeah, because I'll be on Collider Movie Talk on Thursday. When this comes out Thursday morning, I'll be on the Collider Movie Talk panel, and then I'll also Mike and I, Kalinowski and I, will be at the meet and greet for Collider from 6 to 8 p.m. Just in case you're listening to this podcast Thursday morning when it comes out on SK Plus podcast channel, you can come and meet us at Comic-Con, and I'll be there for the whole time. Usually I try to be late, but I'm going to be there for the whole time from 6 to 8 p.m. So I don't know how long Mike's going to be there, but I'm certainly.
Yeah, I'm going to be there.
Okay, it would be great. Awesome. All right, Shannon, when was your first time coming down to Comic-Con?
Mine was 2006, and I think I came down for the weekend. At that point, Vogel had already been coming down for a few years, so I had, I had the advantage of knowing a veteran. But what I remember specifically is going to Hall H. Like, that was my first time going into Hall H, and it was crowded, but it wasn't like it is now. Like, we were able to just walk right up, and again, it was crowded, but it wasn't the commitment of time and resources that it is now. But we went and saw the panel for Superman Returns, which actually come out in 2006. I think that was one of the first times that they did sort of a retrospective of a movie that had only been out like a month.
Right.
And they were talking about, even then, I mean, what had been, 6 weeks I think it had been out, and they were already talking about we wish it had done better, but we ran into trouble with The Devil Wears Prada and, the Pirate sequels.
Was that really the trouble with that film?
Well, that's what they said.
That's what they said, yeah.
But, walking into it the first time, you hear stories and now you see pictures online, but nothing really prepares you for it, to watch how the comic industry, the entertainment industry sort of takes over that downtown San Diego area, and it continues to just spread and spread and spread. And I don't know how the San Diego locals feel about it, but we love it. Yeah,
it kind of reminds me of Ronin, the Frank Miller graphic novel. As the panels go further, and as you get deeper into the book, that corporation expands further into the city. That's what it feels like with Comic-Con. Like, it just gets bigger and bigger and branches out wider and wider, and more events are happening off-site from the San Diego Convention Center every year than the year before. Right. So they're taking advantage of all the different options that are there to do things. So there we go.
Sorry, that was just Michael's love of the brake pedal again.
Oh my God! Will you stop selling Michael out?
Hey, champ, champ, why are we not in the left lane, the carpool lane, champ?
That's a good point.
I'm waiting for the lines to open up.
Oh, we've been waiting on the lines to open up for about the past 15 minutes.
Don't talk off the mic, Mike.
Sorry, Mike's in the mic. All right.
There we go. First time doing a podcast, Mike? Jesus Christ. All right.
A mobile one, yes. I'm a mobile podcast virgin.
Will you move the mic over to when he's... Okay, good.
Now my turn?
All right.
Oh, he's getting more.
Yeah. Okay, so go ahead, Mike. Yeah,
all right, guys. Mine's is a little different than yours, guys. Because now you guys... We'd all actually gone to Florida State at the same time. Like, John, you directed me in a play.
I did.
So I knew you before McClung or Vogel.
That's right. Glengarry Glen Ross, my first play I ever directed.
And then I went to Orlando where I met McClung, and we have stayed friends ever since then. And then when I moved out here to Los Angeles, 2011, that's just like, oh, John's out here. And I was like, oh, my God, yeah, I remember John. But I had not met Vogel yet.
Right.
And about 2012, my friends were telling me about a professional pass. Saying, well, Mike, you're an actor. You submit your materials. You'll get a professional pass. You go for free. I'm like, really? And so I did that, and I got approved. And I remember it was summer. It was Comic-Con 2013. You guys are already down here. I remember I was texting Shannon. I was like, oh, maybe I'll come down there. And I just thought I'll come down for the day. I remember getting on the highway. It's a Saturday afternoon. I got about 10 minutes onto the 405. I'm like, okay, yep, not doing this. And I just turned back around. And I did not come down.
Really?
Yeah.
Was that on a Saturday?
It was a Saturday. And it was at this point, it's like noon.
I don't know this
Stuck
story.
in traffic, and it said like my GPS was like 3 hours. I'm like, that's no point. So
Right.
Next year, I'll never forget, it was about, and McClung was always like, yeah, I go with the group of guys. We always have a room. But, he was never like, well, I'll try. And I never was like, oh, can you see if I can get with you guys?
Right.
Yeah, don't put it on me.
No, I'm not saying settle down. No, I was not like you were never like, well, I go with all these guys. You weren't rubbing it in my face. You're just like, yeah, we got these guys to go with.
Yeah.
And I never wanted to invite myself.
This podcast is getting very aggressive.
No,
I know.
No, but
well,
then
they don't call him the killer for nothing.
About a month before
Yeah.
2014's Comic-Con, Shannon calls me, hey, we have an opening in our room. Would you be interested? And I'm like, absolutely, guys. Whatever you need me to pay, I'd love to join you. Thank you. So I remember you guys were taking the train.
Yeah.
Vogel was down there already, and
That's
I was
right.
driving by myself. And they said, hey, Vogel's there. And we had met at parties and stuff, Mike, but we had not really hung out that much.
Right.
Vogel's there. You'll meet up with him.
We'll get to the Comic-Con at some point in
I'm
the
getting
story.
there. We're
right?
getting
Okay.
there, guys. I'm
I
doing the
just want to
build-up.
make
I'm
sure
big on
we'll
the
get to them when
details.
you actually walk into the
So
yeah,
I'm
okay.
getting there, driving down, and now the story I wanted to get to was your story, McClung, with me and Vogel, and we all get to the room.
Oh, is this where Shannon said you were homophobic?
Yes.
Oh, no.
I never use that word.
Please move the mic to whoever's talking.
All right.
Yeah.
I never use that word.
Okay.
But Shannon had prefaced it to Michael saying, now, Michael might not be comfortable sharing a bed with you. And Vogel's like, I don't care. I'll have the whole bed to myself. It's all right. So I get there, and my first reaction when McClung tells me this is like, you told him what? I'm not. No, of course. So I get there, and it's like, hey, Vogel, just so you know, I'll sleep with you. I'll cuddle with you.
I mean, not the first time I've heard that, but
Yeah.
it was,
So that was my first
Stay on
interaction
track,
with
please.
these guys.
Yeah.
So I was the new guy coming into it, and I think the best thing about it all was how accommodating you were all to my constant, hey guys, hey champ, let me ask you this. Because these guys were Comic-Con veterans, and if you're a virgin at Comic-Con going into this, it blows your mind.
Yeah.
You have no idea. So to be with three experts who have been there, to know all the systems, know everything was a question I had to ask.
I wasn't offended that you didn't want to sleep with me. I was offended like a day later when you said that the Joker was a crappy Batman villain. That's when I had questions about you staying in the room.
Here we go.
Was that Comic-Con?
That was.
All right, we'll get
All
to
right,
that
so-
then.
and
All
to
right,
be
that was my
clear-
experience. So it was a fantastic. And the fact then that Shannon came to me after Comic-Con, you guys had all talked.
Yeah.
And you came, and McClung was like, hey, so we were all talking, how much fun we had with you. And Vogel basically says, like, well, guys, I think we found our fourth.
Yeah.
And that to me, like, I mean, that was one of the best feelings in the world, that I was welcomed in. And I, like, for me, everyone's like, what's Comic-Con you love? I was like, I love everything, but just this in the car driving down with you guys.
Yeah.
Is part of the whole experience for me. So that's it. Sorry, long
I'm
story.
glad you like it. This is the last one. We're probably going to die any second.
Stop saying that, man. People are going to think we're driving dangerously. Yeah, that's a great story. But I want to ask you a follow-up question, Mike, because I want to, like, what was it like for you to actually, because you're a massive, massive fan
Oh my
of these
gosh.
things. So what was it like for you to walk in and see
It's-
other people cosplaying, the scope of it
Like-
all? Because by the time you came down, it had really become
Yeah.
huge.
And
right?
it's weird, like, nowadays it's all about, I got to get in line for exclusives. I
Right.
got to do this. I got to do that.
Right.
I just walked into that floor and you feel at home.
Mhm.
I don't care. It doesn't, yeah, it's busy. I love walking the floor. I remember walking up to the DC booth. They have Affleck's cowl and cape on display, and no one's looking at it. No one's taking pictures. Everyone's just running to different exclusives. And I'm like, the cowl from, and then it's like, that to me, you just feel the energy of everyone. I love walking the floor almost more than anything else.
Yeah, see, and
Is
that's,
that floor is the energy of just people that love what you love. I
Right.
love that.
and I think that's a great point, Mike, because it is it's an acquired taste. Because there are people who walk onto the floor and they're immediately like, "Oh, I can't handle this," and
Yep.
they run,
Yep.
or they get overwhelmed by it, or the smells of people, because like
Yeah.
people don't shower, like
No.
it's nuts nowadays. Because like I just saw an Instagram post from Jason Inman, my friend Jason Inman. He
I
took
saw that.
people are in line already for Saturday on Tuesday.
And they're not going to be
Last
showering
night
all
they
day.
were in line already last night for Saturday
Hall
for
H.
Hall H. Now that's insane because and this leads to when I went down. How many years after you went down, Shen, did I start going? Did you remember?
I think you came down. Was it 08 or 09?
Was it
2010?
I don't keep track of it.
Okay.
Wait, John, was it
It's just one long blur of Rocha.
was it the first year that you and I did Hall H together all day?
Yes.
Okay, so I think that was 2010.
2010?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Because that was when Marvel had their first really big panel where they showed the stuff from Thor and
No.
they showed the stuff from Cap.
Yes,
Was
I think
your
that was the
year?
first time we did Hall H, but I think the first time I went down was 2008 or 2009 because
Okay.
I remember complaining to Vogel that he'd been going down without asking me. And we'd been friends for so long. I was like, you know I love this shit. You go down and you never asked me to go with you. Why don't you think I'd want to go?
This pretty much sums up 20 years of friendship with John Rocha right here. Not I would love to join you, but it is your fault for not including me ahead of time. Why didn't you think of me first?
Listen, he's not lying. He's not lying. The outlaw doesn't do things regular. He doesn't do things like regular people.
Yeah, the outlaw marches to his own beat.
That's right. With my own drum. But it's true. And I remember it was at Baby Blue's Barbecue that we had this debate about it. And you said, well, if you want to come, you can come. It's no big deal. And then, I didn't realize how much it was, which was my first reaction. But when I factored in that I'd be staying, and you were kind enough, Michael was kind enough to create room for me in the room, to be in the room with you guys and not pay. And I think Ian came down with us that year too and was sleeping on the floor.
Oh, he made himself a fort.
Oh, he made himself a fort, right?
Pillow fort.
Yeah, pillow fort. So we were all like there. And then it was great to watch Michael moderate panels. That was awesome to watch my friend do what I had seen other people do.
And if you would like to see it, you can come to room 6A on Friday at 10:30 for the My Little Pony the movie panel.
You're moderating that one? Yeah. Nice. That's the first time I'm hearing that.
And if any of the listeners ever have the opportunity to moderate a panel, make sure that you invite John because he will ask you very flattering questions.
Absolutely. That's what I like to do. I like to support my friends. But for me, the experience, much like Kalinowski's, for me, when I walked out into the floor the first time, I felt like, oh man, this feels like home. This is awesome. Just walking around seeing, and back then you could get swag like crazy for free. You go to the booths to get free T-shirts, free posters, free all this kind of stuff. They gave away everything. I remember coming back with a massive bag of swag that I didn't pay one dime for because they wanted to promote everything. And so back then, before it was crazy. And then progressively over the last few years, it's gotten insane, and it's almost impossible because I will not stand in a line for 3 hours for one T-shirt.
Yeah, and even still, they still have tons of stuff to give out for you. Everyone's movie, studios, and I just love getting a pretzel, a Diet Coke, and walking that floor.
Yeah,
it is fantastic.
Absolutely agree with you.
Even get the nachos. We're very fortunate. We have friends that hook us up with different things there.
Right.
So we get to partake in that. But yeah, the people with the lines for. Some people, that's all they go for is those exclusives. I don't get that, and I throw it on eBay, and
but I
go to be there with those people, and it's awesome. It's
absolutely
fantastic.
And I think that's what's great about the con is there's something for everybody. No matter what you want to do, if you're an exclusive person, there's something for you to do. That if you're a person who doesn't like to do this, you just want to go to Hall H. Like Shannon and I, it was our tradition to go to Hall H and sit there all day, hold our poop for 12, 15 hours, which is the worst because you do not want to crap in that bathroom, that communal bathroom. And
I remember once I really had to go to the bathroom at Comic-Con at the convention center. So I was like, all right, I got to do this. I was walking towards the convention center bathroom, the men's room, and I was about to walk in, and a guy dressed in a full Spider-Man costume walked out of the bathroom. Remember?
Michael has just hijacked my story.
This is, wait. This is a great segue because I want to talk next into. Wait, hold on. Let me segue into it. Well, he will, but I want to talk about your favorite Comic-Con memories. This is one that is legend in our group. So, Michael, proceed. Yeah.
Apparently, in my memory, I took Shannon's memory. So, Shannon, why don't you finish the story?
So, what happened?
Wait. Does this mean that you're telling Shannon's story thinking you're in Shannon's place?
I think that I've, over the years, just thought it was me after all this time. I think I'm getting old.
I'm such a fantastic storyteller that the listeners actually are able to put themselves in to the situations that I tell people about. Okay, calm down, Lexus.
All right, go ahead. Stop pointing out the dangers of the road, Shannon.
Sorry. It had nothing to do with Michael's driving.
That's right. Not at all.
But it was at the end of a very long day inside the convention, and inside the San Diego Convention Center, they do sell food. But it's the type of food that provokes a certain response from your digestive system.
Melted
it's a lot of pizzas and nachos and coffee. I mean, things that are going to have. Anyways, I walked into the bathroom.
A reaction is what you're trying to say.
As I walked into the bathroom, it was very, very crowded. And an entire day of the convention of people doing their business in there, it was a mallet of stink. It was like I got hit in the face with a baseball bat.
Yeah.
And so I did an immediate 180. And as I was walking out, a guy dressed up as broken down Spider-Man walked in, and he had one of those masks that you could actually, it was so tight you could see the expressions on his face.
Oh, wow.
And as I'm passing him, the smell hits him through his mask, and he just goes, woo! My spider sense is tingling. And every person that was suffering through that smell stopped and appreciated that guy's joke.
I feel like you could have told the story better.
I mean, yeah, I think like I did steal the story, but I think I like improved it. That's called development.
Please tell me how you would have improved that story.
I thought it was going to end up with Spider-Man came out of the bathroom and he'd shit himself.
No, that's too easy of an ending. You have to have the punchline.
Low-hanging fruit, I go for.
Yeah. Well, Mike, do you want to tell us an actual story like that you were actually part of?
That we might have to correct.
Now I'm nervous about it. Like, did I just steal everybody else's stories? No, I'll give you one of my favorite memories, and then I'll give you actually one of my most embarrassing moments.
Well, this is going to be great.
Favorite memory, actually, one of them was that we happened to be going to Comic-Con the year that Scott Pilgrim came out. And Scott Pilgrim wasn't released until August, but they did a special screening at Comic-Con that we all got to go to. And just like when you're with all of your super, super nerdy friends in a theater full of super, super nerdy people at Comic-Con, and Edgar Wright comes out and personally introduces the movie. And this was like the first that any of us had seen Scott Pilgrim. And I really, literally and truly, I ran into Edgar Wright at a party later and told him it was one of the greatest movie-going experiences of my entire life. Like, you don't get more perfect than being with your closest, nerdiest friends watching Scott Pilgrim at a comic book convention. Like that's to this day is still one of the greatest moments of Comic-Con. One of the less great moments of Comic-Con was the first time that I ever blacked out drunk.
Here we go.
One of the other fun parts about Comic-Con is the parties. That is a very good time. And I was at a party with a bunch of us, and I got a little toasty.
Also known as a Tuesday, but yeah.
And went up to Carlton Cuse to talk to him about Lost.
Oh shit!
Oh God, no! And I complimented him to start. It was a good beginning of the conversation. I told him that their Lost panel was amazing, and that the current season of Lost, which I think was maybe season 5 or so, was great. I was super into it. And he said, "Thank you very much." And then I continued by going, season 3 sucked, right?
Just flat out, you said that?
Yeah, I don't know why, but I did. And he kind of like made this face. And he's like, really? And I was like, yeah, I mean, look, 1 and 2 are great. 3, you guys don't know what the hell you were doing, but you got it back now, and I'm back on board. So good job, but woo, season 3. So that was not good. Then I decided to continue drinking. And I don't really remember, but apparently this was when Battlestar Galactica was a big hit. The last thing I actually remember was being in a fight inches away from Edward James Olmos's face, where we were arguing about the United Nations.
You and Edward James Olmos.
Yeah, Battlestar Galactica cast had recently done like a giant panel at the United Nations about Battlestar Galactica and how it reflected current political situations. And he and I got in an argument about politics, and he was like yelling in my face, and I closed my eyes, and when I opened them, I was lying in a bedroom at the Hard Rock Hotel that was not my bedroom.
Wait, so you're telling me that you got into him and then you blacked out while you were having the fight?
With Adama?
With Admiral Adama?
Yes, and then apparently after that, I danced on a table with Gaius Baltar, but I do not recall. I just was told that we were great together.
Oh my God.
That's awesome. See, and those are the kinds of things that can happen to you at Comic-Con. That's what's nutty about Comic-Con is you go down, you never know who you're going to know, who's going to hook you up with a party that famous people are going to show up at and do weird things to, and do weird things and you'll do weird things to them, like confronting them about a terrible season of Lost, which I would, as terrible as I am sometimes at confronting celebrities, I would never say that.
I mean, I stand by the statement. It was a terrible season.
Well, no, the second half of the season was better. The first half of the season was terrible. Yes, I agree.
All right. Well, I'm glad that we agree.
Yeah, they saved it. Kalinowski, do you have a story?
My best stories?
Oh, anyone you want to tell?
Well, I'm not going to tell my most favorite story because that is a private story for the 4 of us in this car. And the few that we've selected, that is my all-time favorite moment. I don't think anything will ever top that. If I ever run into you guys somewhere and you're listening to this, ask me about it. I'll tell you about it.
What's the key word for that? What's the key word
Hall
for
H,
that?
first time.
Right.
Oh,
We're not
right.
gonna talk
Yes.
about it.
Yes,
You guys
yes,
know.
yes,
We're not
yes.
going to talk about it.
We're not allowed to talk about it.
But I will absolutely share that story in person
But
with you
that
guys.
story escalated quickly. That's all I'm going to say.
I think for
Threw a
me,
trident into the guy.
the best thing I love about Comic-Con, you talk about like things that could happen. I ran into 3 different people at different Comic-Cons. One was waiting in Hall H to 2015. You and I, McClung, we were in line, but we gave up. We started walking back. And Scott Snyder, who writes Batman, he's just walking by himself. And I see him. And I go, "You're Scott Snyder?" He's like, "Yeah, man. How are you?" And it's like, "You like Batman?" I was like, "Are you kidding me?" It's like, and I went into talk to him about Batman for about 5 minutes. Just him and I in the marina. Got to take a picture with him. Next, 2 years ago, we're in the Hilton bar. We're sitting around hanging out. I look over. There's Philip Winchester, who I love from a TV show called Strike Back, but he was there promoting The Player, just sitting there by himself. And I went up to him, introduced myself, said I was a big fan. I bought him a drink. He sat there. He's like, "I'm having dinner. Sit with the talk." I got to sit there and talk with him. And then the best one, it was Sunday. We were getting ready to leave. I was going back into the floor to buy some merchandise. I'm walking out. I've got my Flash Gordon, the T-shirt that he wears, the white with the red flash on it.
Yeah.
I'm walking out. I see Sam J. Jones being mobbed by people trying to get his autograph, but he was trying to go somewhere walking. He sees me. I see him, and he goes, "Yeah, with that shirt like that, I got to take a picture with you." So I was able to pull my phone out, and he was not taking anyone's pictures or autographs, but because I had the shirt on, and there was me, Sam J. Jones picture. So again, Comic-Con, you never know who you're going to see. And I've had some fantastic interactions with some of the people that I love and admired their work.
Yeah, well,
I love
that's awesome. I love that. The Sam J. Jones thing, that's a great story.
Oh, my God.
That
Great
he came
picture
up
of him
to
and
you
He's
is
huge,
fantastic.
too.
Yeah,
huge.
Of course he is. Big
I'm
dude.
6 feet tall. I'm a decent-sized guy.
Yeah.
And he towers over me.
I saw him in TED. He's a big dude.
So I love those things about Comic-Con. I love it.
One of the weirdest stories, like, because Shane and I have done Hall H a number of times, and of course Mike and Kalinowski and Vogel have come in, like, you know, but they don't.
I don't do the marathon like you guys. I pop in and out as much as possible.
And I am okay if we don't get in. I know, especially my first year, you guys are like, "Oh, if we don't get you into Hall H, it sucks." But guys, I just had a great time. If I don't make Hall H, I'm okay with it.
Yeah. Well, with Shane and I was tradition, right? And some crazy shit has always gone down in Hall H. Like one of the greatest moments was like when Loki came out, Tom Hiddleston came out as Loki. Like everybody went insane, and then him insulting the audience, and then all the Avengers got introduced. Those are great moments. Even when Harry Lennox came out and did the voiceover for Batman vs Superman, Dawn of Destiny, whatever it's called. What's it called? Dawn of Justice. Sorry, Mike. Dawn of Justice. I didn't mean that as an insult. And you know, Henry, it was amazing because that was the first time they'd done, I think, the 70 or 3/4 screen where it was all on the sides,
where it wrapped around.
Yeah, where it wrapped around. That was an amazing introduction, and I was super excited that they were going to essentially do Dark Knight Returns as a sequel to Man of Steel, and so. Right, it didn't turn out. It did. We'll get into a little bit. But one of the craziest stories in Hall H, I think Shannon and I were there for this, was when that dude got into a fight and stabbed a guy in the eye with a pencil.
Cowboys and Aliens.
Yeah, it was a Cowboys and Aliens
right
panel,
Cowboys
which
and
we should have known that the Cowboys and Aliens was not going to be a good movie after that. That was a harbinger of what was going to happen. But these two guys were fighting over a seat. And they had given, because Harry Potter had been that day as well. They had given out these white shirts with Harry Potter in a mugshot or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And I looked back. We heard this commotion, and I think you were getting food, Shannon. I don't think you were actually in the hall. I think you were getting food during one of the breaks. And we heard this commotion, and then you look back and you saw these people getting into it, and I ran from my seat, and you could see the blood on this dude's white shirt from the pencil stab that he had. And so it was just over seats. And that tells you the lunacy of Comic-Con.
Nerd rage is real, y'all. Nerd rage is real.
Yeah, nerd rage has no limits either. Like it breaks social conventions in the moment, because there's like anger that's erupting in those moments.
And
so,
John, do you remember how that story, it was like a game of telephone? How everyone had, they're on the Comic-Con Wi-Fi.
Yes.
And it starts off as somebody was stabbed, and then it's somebody got a hand cut off.
Yeah.
I mean,
it got progressively insane.
Yeah, and they locked Hall H down. Like
you
couldn't leave.
Right.
Yeah. And I want to say it was probably at least 30 or 45 minutes before the next panel started.
Yeah.
And the coolest thing was it was Cowboys and Aliens, and we were all excited for it at the time. Jon Favreau came out, and it was Harrison Ford's first time, and they brought Harrison Ford out. Jon Favreau prepped it. It was like, ladies and gentlemen, his first time at Comic-Con, Harrison Ford. Now, this is a legend. This is Indiana Jones. This is Han Solo. 2 security guys bring him out in handcuffs.
Yeah.
And somebody gives him the mic, and he goes, I really wanted that seat.
Yeah, it was just perfect timing.
The news traveled backstage.
Yeah. It was so brilliant. because of that. Because like that's the thing that you get is these people love to come to Comic-Con and love to play with the fans, and you can tell when they enjoy being with the fans. And one of my other great stories is, and of course now I've interviewed Dwayne Johnson, which you can see on YouTube through Schmoes Know, but like the first time I got to go to a panel to see Dwayne Johnson, I think he was doing Escape to Witch Mountain. I think with Carla Gugino, he was doing that panel, and I actually got up to ask him a question. Like I got in line and I actually got to the mic before they cut it off to ask him a question. And it was everything just to be able to have an interaction with Dwayne Johnson because I was a massive fan of The Rock as a wrestler, and I was supporting his career definitely as an actor to see what he could do. So it was so fun for me. And those are those small moments, like whoever you love or enjoy, you can go and have a conversation or ask a question or whatever. And it's such a great experience. But the number one is Shatner. And this is the story I want to tell. And then we'll get back to everyone else's second story. Like my number one memory of Comic-Con will always be, and as much as I love hanging out with these guys and doing all the panels and everything, it's always great, always great. But my number one thing will have been getting into a panel to see William Shatner. And he was there because I'm a massive Captain Kirk fan, and he was talking about this book that he was doing, chronicling his time on the set. Or someone had done like a book, I think they wrote a book about an episode or something like that had not been done, and Shatner was doing the voiceover for the book, so he was there to promote the book. And I got up to ask a question. I'd always wanted to tell Shatner this, and I got up there and I finally got to tell him and say to him how he has always reminded me of my father. Like my father was very much like Captain Kirk in the way he delivered his Spanish, in the way he delivered his English, the way he was like kind of a captain of our ship, of our family. Like there was just so many ways that Shatner as Kirk was very reminiscent of my dad. So whenever I've seen him in shows, William Shatner is essentially a stand-in for my father. And having lost him in 2008, it was so great to be able to, like 2 years later or 3 years later, whenever it was, to be able to walk up and ask him that and tell him that. And he was so gracious in his response. And then I got to ask a follow-up question because he was like, that's a statement, ask me a question. And so I said, why do you think Captain Kirk still endures after all this time? Like we've changed as a society, you know, he's such a womanizer, he had those kind of things. Why does it still endure? And he gave this incredibly long-winded answer in a good way about the progression of time. And I've since learned that he gives the same answer. Well, at the time, hearing it for the first time was amazing, but he talked about how in the future, like mountains will go away, societies will crumble, like new planets, all these things will happen. But the one thing that will stand the test of time is Captain Kirk. And then he gave the reasons why of what Captain Kirk stands for. And that to me was like I got so emotional when I got back to my seat because it was just such an amazing thing to talk to your hero or a person who represented your hero or played out your hero and ask him that question and have him talk so powerfully about it. So that's definitely my number one story.
That's a very good
of
story.
Comic-Con, right? I mean, just be able to talk to him. Michael, do you have another story? Or who has another story? Mike?
McClung,
Shannon, yeah, go ahead.
Well, yeah, see, it's hard to follow yours because yours was very emotional.
Well,
mine's totally self-serving.
No, but that's great. That's part of Comic-Con, man.
I've been lucky enough to have been cast in a few shows that they get featured at Comic-Con.
Yes.
Like I did episodes of Teen Wolf and I did episodes of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., or rather episode. And my part was never large enough to justify, obviously, me being there. And like hopefully one day I will get there. But it was last season I was very fortunate to recur on Silicon Valley. I did 4 episodes. And so they were actually having a panel. And my character, I don't know if anybody watches the show, but we were all part of sort of the specialized sales team that Stephen Tobolowsky brought in to help out at Pied Piper. And we would all introduce our names. I played Keith, Northeast Regional, and then we had Jan the Man, characters that were remembered.
Yeah.
So I went to the panel. And I think I told Kalinowski that I was, I'm going to go and ask a question. And he was like, do you want me to come with you? I'm like, nah, because if this fails, I don't.
Yeah, you're like, I'll go. You're like, you want to come with you? You want me to go with you, bud? I'll go. And he's like, nah, because it's like, it doesn't go well. I was like, I don't care. I'll be there for support, bud.
I don't want any witnesses in case this is a failure. So I went and got in line. Now, what happens when you ask questions at those large panels that they have someone sort of minding the microphone and they vet you? Which, they want to kind of cut people off the pass if they're going to get up and be a jerk.
Right.
So they asked me, like, hey, what is your question going to be? And the girl in front of me had a great question. She's like, what would your character's last words be? I'm like, oh, that's funny. So the guy gets to me. I was like, oh, well, I want to ask him about the sales team, the douchey sales team. And the guy kind of cocked his head at me. He was like, okay, like if you want to waste your question. I didn't want to tell him and be like, hey, so I was actually in the show and like they're going to recognize me. So I get through it and like they're going question by question. A second vetter comes around and I'm like, oh, son of a bitch, I got to do this again. And the guy asked me, what's your question going to be? And I say the same thing and he's like, okay, pal. And then he takes off. So they finally get to me, and the people on the panels, especially in those bigger halls, they have a monitor in front of them where they can see the people who are asking questions. They can actually see them before there are these giant screens that the audience can see. So they see them first. So I get up, before I even ask my question, I think it was Zach Woods, just like, hey, you were on the show. You were on the show. And then my picture popped up, and I don't know if anybody recognized me, but I started off my question saying, hey, Keith, Northeast Regional, and then people recognized me. And I was like, do you think the compression platform would have been more successful had you not fired that fantastic sales team? So that got a very, very nice reaction from the crowd. But then it was awkward because I was like, clearly they don't have an answer. Like, it's me just being like, hey, look at me.
Right.
And so I sat there as they're sort of fumbling for an answer, like giving like very humorous observations. And then as I'm walking out, I had been in line so long, I lost my seat.
Oh.
So I just had to exit. So to them, it looked like, hey, I'm out. But I was like, oh, no, the fire marshal's not going to let me stand here and watch the rest of it, so I guess I'll go. So that was mine.
That's great. Mike, do you have one?
I do, but I have to get on this exit right here real quick, so somebody else tell a story so I don't crash the car.
Kalinowski?
What else are we going to talk about? Just great or bad moments or great
whatever
moments?
you want to talk about. Like one more story.
Well, one of the things you find out about your friends just being in such close proximity with them, that you might not know from your daily lives is that there's 4 of us in this car right now.
Yeah.
2 people.
Yeah.
Snore.
Oh, boy.
Like you would not believe.
Thank you, Cosby.
It is
Thank you, Cosby.
Oh, you would not believe the snoring.
I feel like we're past the point where that impression is appropriate in our society.
That's true.
I think it's come full circle back around now. It's okay now. But anyway, no, it is. There's several nights I've got earplugs. I've learned.
Yeah.
I have bought earplugs. I'm ready to go this year.
Well, that's the great thing about Comic-Con, Mike, is like every year you learn how to do it better.
Yes,
right?
you do.
It's like any kind of thing you experience. The more you do it, the better you get at it because you understand the whole. And now you're a veteran to a degree, and you can give a young or a new person coming to Comic-Con like advice like we gave you. Yeah. That's just how it works, man.
Absolutely. I have slept in the bathtub before because the snoring has been so bad.
Yes.
I will say along these same lines, and especially for fans of the Outlaw, I think that one of my favorite things about Comic-Con just across the board, and it's been this way for years.
Don't you do this?
No, this is good. My favorite thing, no matter what I did the night before, no matter what panels I did, every year when I leave, waking up to the John Rocha, Shannon McClung show. So just for all of your listeners and for all the fans of the Outlaw. So usually I'm asleep and I'm kind of like, you're in a hotel with your friends, you're slowly waking up, and it usually starts with like one of them like bumped the other one or one of them elbowed the other. And so usually it starts with just like John Rocha, eyes closed. You just hear this, you son of a bitch. And then they just start in, and basically the best way to wake up is just laughing at your closest friends doing a full bit in the bed across from you while homophobic Kalinowski snuggles up against me.
Yeah. Here's kind of a prequel to that story. I'll never forget this. This is got to be about 3 years ago now. We were all out on the Gas Lab District drinking. And we needed John. You needed to go to an ATM to get some money.
Oh, dude.
Yep.
This is a great story.
This is a great story for the
Outlaw who is telling the story.
The Outlaw. It's funny. Those of you guys don't know, the Outlaw has many sides to it, many different shades.
I would agree with that.
He's a very brusque man, a very overspoken at times, but he's also a gentle soul, a man who loves his friends, who will do anything for his friends, will die for them, will bust balls, but then defend that man with his life.
Of course.
So, John, I view John as he was in the military. Of all the 4 of us, that's the guy that I'm going to go behind in case there's a fight or something's going down. Is I want this guy front and foremost. McClung and I, not so much.
Well,
okay, easy. So now, Vogel, you weren't there. I don't know where you were.
So he was off at a party.
I was at a party.
Okay, so the three of
course
us
he
were
was.
like,
I was at a party y'all couldn't get into.
we
You're
wanted to go
terrible
get some
person.
pizza or something,
We did.
and we needed
Was this
cash.
the first night? Was this the first night?
This was the first.
The
This
first
is the
night,
first
but
time we
like
went-
our second trip.
Last year or 2 years ago?
I think 2 years
2
ago.
years ago. Oh my god.
So you and I already had cash, but John, you needed to get some cash. There was like an
he's pointing to
ATM.
Shannon McClung. You and Shannon already had cash.
Yes,
right.
and you were across. There's an ATM, Bank of America. I'm going to go over there,
Yeah.
guys. We're like, all right, and we're with you. And I don't remember us saying, "Hey, we'll wait for you over here."
Was Blue with us?
Blue was with us.
Yes. Oh, so
I remember what happened, despite the fact that I was a little blackout drunkie.
you were, yeah, and you were.
We're all a little drunk.
Well, no, this is what happened. We went to get pizza, and we're sitting outside having our pizza, but we're all drunk,
Yeah.
but I was still hungry for more pizza.
Yes.
So I went to go get cash because that shitty place doesn't take a card. So you have to go and get cash from the Bank of America, literally across the street. And so I go across the street to get cash. I come back. The guys are still there. I go inside to get the pizza. And these motherfuckers are, when I come back out with the new piece of pizza that I'm so happy that I have and my Coke, these motherfuckers left me behind.
Okay.
At 2 in the morning,
Okay.
surrounded by some seedy characters. Because Comic-Con is great. And late at night, though, the San Diegoans come out, the less than desirables. Some of the less desirables come out.
We love you, San Diego, by the way.
Yeah,
We're on San Diego. It's not Coruscant. Like, what are
you have never been.
So-
Star Wars reference.
Yo!
It's a hive of scum and villainy.
So-
yeah.
Well, you and I, McClung, we're like, let's go back to the hotel. Let's go
Yeah,
to the bar or
They
something.
don't
Get a-
think twice about John Rocha.
You guys are leaving a part of the story.
All right, we'll continue.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay,
Mike.
as Rocha went in to get his pizza,
Yeah.
a kind of crazy-ish guy came up and started talking to me.
That's what I'm saying. The
Okay.
less desirous people late at
Okay,
night.
but I'm not lumping all of San Diego.
I
in,
didn't
just,
say
just
some.
the one guy.
I didn't say all of them. I said that some of them come out. Yeah.
So one of them came out and started talking to me, and when I become very, very friendly if I am a little inebriated.
You vacillate between friendly and abrasive, but yes.
Okay. So
Yes.
I was okay. Well,
It depends on the minute they're catching you.
clearly there is some foreshadowing coming up. So I was very, very friendly. This guy started talking to me, and I felt obligated to engage him in conversation.
Yes.
I look over, and our friend Jonathan Blue has vanished. Like he started walking, and I look at Kalinowski. I'm like, oh, we're in a situation that we shouldn't be in. So at this point, I have forgotten that John is inside getting pizza, and I say, hey man, it was really nice talking to you. My friends, we got to get going though. So we leave, and now I will let John or Kalinowski take over from here.
And when I have had some drinks in me, it doesn't take much to get me drunk. So at this point, I'm
Right.
like, I want to continue with my friends. Let's keep drinking. We were going to go to the bar
Yep.
at the sports bar at the bottom of the Hilton.
Right. The Fox.
But you and I get there. Where's Rocha? I
Right.
thought Rocha was he following us? I don't know. In my head, in the drunken haste, it's like, didn't he go to get money? Why wasn't he following us? And we're like, oh, well, okay. Rocha, do you want to tell how you went from there? Because I'm going to pick up
Yeah.
going into the room.
Yeah. I was like, where the fuck are these guys? They left me behind. This is kind of not the greatest area or time to be alone in this situation. There were some big people up around that pizza. And they've been drinking, and I was like, if we're going to get into it, I'm going to be all alone swinging fists if it happens. Because I'm always aware of the possibility. My entire life, I'm a bigger guy. There are always moments where a physical confrontation is a possibility because people just get kind of in that place sometimes around me. Just me being in an area sometimes causes it. And I've seen it. And I'm an empath, so I can sense it when it's happening, which is why I try to take myself out of situations like that as much as possible. So when my friends left me behind, and also the military training is like, you never leave a man behind. You never
That
leave
was a big
man
one.
behind.
That was a big one.
Yeah, you
remember
never-
that because that's going to come back full circle.
Yeah, right.
Remember that.
You never leave a man behind. So I'm walking back and I'm just like super pissed. I'm getting angrier and angrier. And of course, because I've been drinking, it
Oh, yes.
makes it me even more angry. And I'm texting them and no one's texting me back.
Nope, not at all.
And,
We weren't.
No, and they were all.
I don't remember.
And I was
I
like,
don't remember either.
so I was like, fuck them. And I went to the room. And I got in bed, and I was just like a ball of smoke. I was so angry because I'm like, you don't do that, especially because like it's your friends and you're out and you want to enjoy Comic-Con with your friends as much as possible. Because when you do Comic-Con as the days progress, you separate out more and more because your interests are different.
Very
So
good
you
point,
You don't go in, so you want to enjoy the time together that you can have, especially on the first night. So an hour later or half an hour later, these drunk shitheads come stumbling.
No. First me.
Yeah, right.
I come in.
Kalinowski comes in.
Lights off, dark. You're under the covers.
Right.
I'm like, champ, where'd you go?
Yeah.
And you just, no.
Yeah.
No. And I go, and I instantly, my face like, oh, Papa Bear's mad.
Yeah.
And
and Mike and I were still establishing our friendship because, like
Yes.
Mike said, I had directed him, but we hadn't maintained contact or anything. So we were still new friends.
Oh.
And you'd been at Universal with McClung, so that so it was all of that.
He is. Oh, he's mad.
Yeah, I was
okay.
super
And
pissed.
I do like the cartoon tiptoe out of the room, and like I tiptoe back in because I was like, well, I'm not gonna. I'm drunk. I gotta go to bed. So I kept trying to put. In walks McClung.
Yeah.
Where you guys at, John boy? Where'd you go, big fella? And I'm looking at McClung going, the hand underneath the mouth, like, no, McClung. What do you mean, no? Get up. And you're like, oh, Shannon, love you. Go to bed. We'll talk about it in the morning. Come on, John, you mad? Why are you mad, John? He's on the bed hugging me. He's like, come on, let's talk about it. I go, McClung, no.
And
no,
I'm warning him.
McClung, stop. I'm warning him. You're like, Shannon, I love you. Tomorrow. We'll talk. No, not now. Let's talk it out now, brother. And I'm in the back going, no.
It's true. It was an abort mission situation because Shannon was violating my physical space while I was upset. Because at first he was like, what's going on? Then he started playing my feet. Then he started to jump on top of me.
This all seems very civil the way I remember it.
Yeah, does it? Does it? It was a very aggressive affection. I would say that.
And you were not being, you were trying to recover.
I really was. I was warning him.
Boiling. You were starting to do the steam was starting to come out. And I'm like, no, take the pot off the mic to his mouth. Take the pot off. Take the pot off the stove. Take it off the stove, please, Shannon.
He's hurting my argument, so I don't want people to hear it.
You take the mic, Shannon.
Go ahead, Shannon. What do you think happened, Shannon?
No, okay. The way I remember it is that you actually came out in the hallway, Kalinowski.
I was drunk, so these events are.
You came out in the hallway because I was sort of bouncing up and down trying to get to the room, and you were saying, "Oh, John's mad." Yes. And I'm like, "Oh, I'll fix it."
Yeah.
So from my point of view,
to Shannon's credit, he's had experience bringing me down.
It's called taming the beast.
I thought I was doing the Lord's work. And then it became very clear that the angrier John got, the more insistent I got.
That was what was perplexing, is Shannon was becoming more insistent, and as I was getting angry and warning him to stop. He kept going forward, going, no, I think if I push through this wall, we'll get there. When he doesn't realize that you push through the wall and all the machine guns are turned on you as soon as you push through the wall.
I've pushed through the wall to the GUI Center before.
You have? Fair. But you were never the focus of the GUI Center until that night.
I didn't realize there was all sorts of ordnance aimed at me.
And so then I was like, I don't know what the fuck happened. You guys, like, I came out, you guys have left me. Like, you never, I'm military. Like, to me, that's huge. You never leave your friends behind, at least without letting them know. And it was a whole big fight. And I said, let's just go to bed and blah, blah, blah.
Never let a man behind. Dude, that was cut. And I was like, oh, he's mad. Oof.
Meanwhile, these old biddies, they're acting like this was late at night. This was about probably 10:30 p.m.
It was way later than that.
I get home an hour later. Go to bed.
Hold on. No, you come in, first of all, like it's fucking Studio 54 in the 70s. You're dancing. And
That's true. You woke us
half
all
your
up.
clothes are off. There's glow sticks happening, being thrown around the room.
First of all, I am a gay man. That's how I walk into any room at any time. Second of all, I come in, I go to bed, I wake up the next morning, don't know any of this. Now, you guys just heard the 38-minute story of this. Here's what I got. I go, what happened? We were at pizza. We didn't know where John was. We went back to the hotel. He went back to the hotel, and everybody was mad. And I said, the hell kind of story is this? Let's just go get breakfast.
And then, like all best friends do, instantly we had breakfast. It was hashed out. Hugs were given around, but the point was made.
Yes, the point was made.
It was hashed out almost immediately. I remember waking
up. Yes, the next morning. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
The bear was calmed down.
Which is what I had told them from the beginning.
Right.
Let's go to bed. We'll talk about it in the morning.
As much times as John, we disagree on different things.
Yes.
He was very right to say, Shannon, we will take care of this in the morning. He did, and it was taken care of. Vogel, move your big head. There we go.
One more?
You call me a whore?
He said, ew. All right.
All right, which brings me... So this brings me to, I'm going to My Little Pony it up for a minute, but I want to talk about the most important rule of Comic-Con that we have learned. And this actually applies to anybody going to any convention, big event, anything with your friends. And that is the Triple G rule. Bring it down, man. So there was several years, like as you guys have heard from these stories, you know, we go and people want to do panels and people are on lists for parties and people want to run into people and people have work things to do. And so there was a couple years in there where we started going to things and we all sort of lost track of each other. We would get down there together and then Rocha and Shannon would run out to Hall H. I would go to a party I'd have to do. Everybody would go in their different directions. And you didn't have as good of a time. We would leave and we go, this wasn't so good. So for any of you fans of the Outlaws that happen to overlap and also watch My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic, the season 1 finale is when the ponies go to the Grand Galloping Gala. And it's basically a Comic-Con situation. Applejack wants to sell her apples, Rainbow Dash wants to meet the Wonderbolts, Pinkie Pie wants to throw a big party, and they all split up and they have a terrible time. And they've realized at the end that it's not about doing all these fancy things and doing this other stuff, that if they had just spent time together, they would have had a better time. So we hit Comic-Con one year and I tell everybody we got the Triple G rule, Grand Galloping Gala rule. And that is, no matter what we're doing it together. We're not going to split up, we're going to stay as a team, we're going to go and have dinners together. And that has been the rule ever since. And so no matter what parties we have, we might not see each other for a couple hours, but every night we get together, at least at some point, we get drinks, we get food, we do things together, and that is the rule. Always stick with your friends, and you're good to go.
Was the last year an exception to the Grand Gala and Gallop rule? I'm just curious. What
was the what do you mean?
You remember last year? With the ringleader of the Grand Gallop and Gala? I don't think we saw you but once.
Okay, first of all...
To be fair.
To be fair.
When there's work things that you have to do.
Right, and you were, and at this point you had what, become an executive, like you were a freelancer, so you're trying to get work.
Fucking hate you, Kalinowski.
Point taken. For the listeners, Vogel is giving Kalinowski a look through the rearview mirror.
Yeah, very strong.
But I can't tell if it's a look if he's flirting with me or if he's mad at me. That's what I can't tell.
It's not flirting. You're sleeping on the floor tonight.
You sure? You're gonna provide this room. No, you ain't got no say in that this year, champ. Pay an equal share.
One last thing I would say is I had a panel as well, which like for Transformers: Robots in Disguise. I got to be able to go up to the panel and ask them a question, and they didn't know that I was in the room, just much like Shannon's thing. And I snuck up, and Kari Payton and Mitchell Whitfield, and what's the guy? It was the main guy. I'm sorry, who's the main guy again? The one from
Optimus Prime.
Yeah, no, the the voiceover. Will Friedle were there, and I think Constance Zimmer was there. And I got just like I kind of hunched down and sneaked up, and then I asked the question, and I said, "You know, it would be great if Springload came back and had a couple more episodes." And everybody laughed and cracked up because they recognized it was me, and I got 2 or 3 more episodes out of that.
I'll say it worked.
Yeah, it worked. So
it didn't work on Silicon Valley.
No, well, no. Not yet. You never know. Keith, it's still on the air. Keith could come back. So you got to, it is a time to go down for work, but for pleasure rather. But then occasionally you can mess around and get some work out of it too. So it's really cool to do that. All right, so that's our Comic-Con stories. Let's real quick because I got I think 10 or 15 minutes left on this thing.
Holy jeez, that's it.
Yeah, man. Let's talk about the top 10 comic book movies.
Okay.
Do we want to hash this thing? Oh, do we want to talk about Kalinowski's Marvel DC stuff?
Well, what do you want? What do your listeners? What do you think they'd prefer?
You're a DC fan.
But I'm a comic book fan.
Well,
yes.
I'm a comic book fan too.
Yeah, we're all comic book fans of some varying degree. But like, you're a massive DC fan in the way that DC can never do anything wrong. And I know
Not
because
true.
you're on DC Movie News.
Suicide Squad.
Are you against Suicide Squad?
I liked about 15 minutes of that film.
Okay, that's
I'm
fair.
very vocal about that film.
That's a rarity.
Sorry.
That's
Yeah.
a rarity,
Oh, yeah.
and I respect that. And you're on DC Movie News.
Rarity is also the name of a pony on My Little Pony.
Oh my God, you're
What
plugging
is?
your show? Rarity. Rarity. But no, it's great. But like, you don't resist a moment to kind of bash Marvel, though. You do kind of go out of your way.
Let me
at
say
times.
this.
The Spider-Man thing was a dig.
Let me
for
say
people
this.
who don't know.
Because the reason I feel like I have to, because now I guess I've kind of become a mouthpiece for it.
For
is-
DC or for what?
For DC. And again,
Yeah.
they're not asking. I don't work for DC. They don't.
No,
give a
I know
shit.
you don't.
But
you work
it's
for
just
DC
there's
Movie
so
News.
much jumping on the bandwagon of Marvel because it's the successful thing. I know everyone in this car has liked them before.
Yes.
It's not like that people are just discovering it. So the perfect example of what I did with this and when I did the Spider-Man thing was because when BVS did a 69%, 67% drop first to second weekend. That's massive.
Yeah.
It is. And DC, and the reports were
Was it
on big
70%?
sites.
Was it 70
67 or 69?
69.
The big reports were like DC massive bomb.
Right.
DC needs to be rebooted.
Right.
Then a Spider-Man article from the same site goes Spider-Man dips 63% in second week. The way that they phrase it shows that there's a bias against those films.
Okay.
Your same site is going DC failed, dropped 67%. Spider-Man slight dip 63%.
The difference being, if you want to actually be specific, is that Batman versus Superman dropped that much and had horrible reviews. Spider-Man got glowing reviews, also had a dip. I'm not arguing with you that it's a huge dip and that Marvel's not happy about that. Difference being, there's a discussion to be had about why Batman versus Superman was received the way it was, why Spider-Man was received the way it was, why they both had dip second weekend. You've always don't want to deal with the fact that although subjectively you are allowed to enjoy whatever movies you like, critically Batman versus Superman was resoundingly panned. So the idea that DC has to reboot isn't just that it dipped that much. It dipped that much and almost unanimously people said it was a horrible movie.
But to that effect, should then, okay, you get bad reviews and it drops. That should not be surprising then. What should be considered the argument is then, wow, everyone loved it. It got great reviews. Still dropped 6. Why did this happen?
Well,
that's the problem.
And I think that's a fair point to bring out, Mike. But I would push back a little bit and say it's two different situations in that more was expected from Batman vs. Superman in terms of financially, whereas Spider-Man overperformed by almost $35 million. The internal estimates of the studio was they thought it was only going to open to 80.
But John,
and then well, hold on, let me finish the point real quick, and because I respect what you're going to say here, but 80, and it made 115 million. Now, what Michael said is right too. They're still unhappy with a 63% drop. I think what cushions the fall, though, is that it overperformed by 35 million out the gate, whereas Batman vs. Superman underperformed and was not well received. So there's a combo of things that Spider-Man doesn't have, but you're certainly valid in saying a 63% drop should be warning signs, and it shouldn't be blown off like it's not a big deal.
And John, you made a great point on, I think it was Twitter earlier this week,
Yeah.
someone asking you about this, and I think if this has happened post-BVS, studios are now underestimating what they expect they're going to do.
Yeah.
So when they can say, it's like, oh, we overperformed.
Yeah.
It's easy to do that. Wonder Woman, they shot low, but they thought it was going to low, and it did much better.
It really did.
I think
And
Spider-Man,
still
they were
is.
hedging their bets.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect example, like and it's not about, I don't, when I say this, I don't think studios are paying people to review Marvel movies favorable. I don't think that at all.
Yeah, that's
Marvel
luminous.
gives a good product. It's like Pixar.
Yeah.
You know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
Where the whole thing with Wonder Woman, where those people is like, the things, the press, the sites, WB does not want to promote Wonder Woman. It's not putting it out there. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
They waited to the month before. They let Guardians come out, and then they did. If that movie was not, look what it did. It's the third highest rated superhero film of all time financially. It's
And you're
so
right.
So
And you're
all
right.
those stories, it just like I just want to be I have a little bit of a voice, so I like to vocal going, hey, you did it. You didn't do this for Marvel, but you're doing it for DC. Why? It should be equal, fair play.
But depending on the headline that you read, because a lot of articles that I read talking about the drop that Spider-Man had, put it out there on the headline saying second worst Marvel drop.
Yeah.
Like so they
I
did
heard
they
it was the worst Marvel drop.
No, I think it's the second. I think Incredible Hulk was worse. I think.
Which to
But-
me is a tenuous Marvel movie at best.
I mean, but look, and I think, look, you made, once you got into it on your Facebook page, Kalinowski, you made a good point, which I think is valid, which is, look, I personally think Spider-Man: Homecoming is the best Spider-Man movie that's ever been made.
Agreed.
I know that not everybody in the car thinks that. That's neither here nor there. But I do agree that the issue is that to the average movie-going viewer, this is just another in a new version of Spider-Man, and that the average viewer is bored with it. Like, I've seen this, and then I saw this. Now, the difference, and I think why Marvel is fine and why this is not a big issue, is the biggest thing about Spider-Man Homecoming that is good for Marvel is that Spidey is in the Marvel Universe now. And he's in Infinity War. He's a part of the universe. So whatever goes on from here, the Spider-Man movies, based on the quality of Spider-Man Homecoming are going to continue to get better. So I wouldn't be surprised if the next Spider-Man movie and the next Spider-Man movie actually continue to do better in defiance of what sequels usually do.
And you guys make a great point. And also, it finally dawned on me. I was wondering, because we have all these discussions and stuff.
Yeah, we do.
I was on the Cinema Squad podcast, and we talked about it. And we live in a bubble. Not only because this is our world, the comic books, but because of LA. Movies, it is constantly in the forefront. We're constantly dealing with it. For us, that Marvel got Spider-Man was huge. The family that goes to the movies once or twice a month in Indiana, they could care less that
Well, you
Marvel
said
got
Idaho.
Spider-Man.
Idaho,
on,
yeah,
on my
Indiana, yeah.
Facebook page. They could care less. They just saw, like you said, this is Spider-Man number 6.
But they will care about Infinity War. Like,
Sure. Oh,
the thing is, like,
absolutely.
when you have, and this is where
Absolutely.
Marvel succeeds, and where DC thus far has stumbled. I mean, I hope DC does better. Like, I loved Wonder Woman more than anything in the world. But where Marvel wins is that even if they hit a single, even if Spider-Man Homecoming is a single for them in the long run, Spider-Man being a part of that bigger universe, being able to be in a movie where every superhero and character that's been in the Marvel universe since its inception and Spider-Man's a part of it, it just adds to the experience and ultimately will make the individual Spider-Man movies stronger too.
But my friends, like, again, but we know that. Like, I have a friend that we talk about. He's like, Marvel kills it. Deadpool's best Marvel movie of all time. I was like, you know that's not a Marvel movie, buddy. But they don't know that.
Well,
and they don't understand the concept of the Marvel universe versus Fox's Marvel. And now with the silver and blacks that Sony's going to do with their whole offshoot Spider-Man whatever.
Yeah, but here's the bottom line. And it's what you said at the beginning of this conversation is that's all neither here nor there. And I do think you're right. That is the issue with Spider-Man Homecoming, that it was just viewed by a lot of people as another Spider-Man movie. But the bigger picture is, do you know when people in Idaho or Arkansas or Indiana who aren't into the movie business, do you know when they go to the movies? When it's a good movie.
Right, sure.
And so like, yeah, like whether it's going to be the next in the series of X-Men movies, whether Fox reboots Fantastic Four, whether it's what Marvel does in this next phase of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, or whether it's Justice League, like if the movie's crappy, the movie's crappy.
Yeah, Vogel, and
Fair enough.
I think it's a great point, Vogel. But I also think this. We have to stop, and Michael, I want to say this as respectfully as possible to Kalinowski. Like we have to stop thinking that Idaho or Missouri or whatever, like these people aren't in. Yes, the mom and pop might not be into it, but the younger generation is certainly aware of it,
sure,
and knowledgeable of it, and that's who they're going for.
And
they're not going for the mom and dad.
No,
they're
no,
going
no.
for the sons and the daughters to get them to come. So and because of the internet and everything else, like all this stuff is out there for people to consume in easier ways than they ever were when I was growing up in the 80s and all you had were magazines. Now you've got like instant articles, instant stuff going on. And so you're aware of all this shit if you want to be aware of all this shit. And there's a reason that these movies make a shit ton of money. It isn't because people in LA or New York or Chicago are going 1 million times each. It's because it's across the country.
I was saying, like,
world.
those of us like that, everyone involved in the Schmoedown and those type of things. We
sure
3 or 4 times see those, but like, and that's why that article on Facebook where I said is like, if realize like this is Spider-Man for a whole new generation of people.
Right.
Kind of like I love Man of Steel, but there are people that Christopher Reeve in that Superman movie, that is their Superman, and nothing will ever top it.
Yeah, it's like the prequels. It's like the prequels.
Wait, hold on, but this is where just because you don't like Man of Steel doesn't mean that it's because nothing's ever going to top Christopher Reeve. Man of Steel didn't top Christopher Reeve. Henry Cavill is not as good as Christopher Reeve. It doesn't mean that DC and Warner Brothers, in my opinion,
in your opinion,
it does not mean that DC and Warner Brothers could not create a Superman movie that far surpassed the $77 film. It's not a perfect film. Just what Man of Steel did and what Henry Cavill did with that performance is just for a lot of people not Superman.
No, what I mean is like the fact that there was no, like Flash Thompson was what he was in that. That's not Flash Thompson to me.
Right.
The fact that we didn't see him swinging through Manhattan, and I know they did those things to separate from the previous 5. I get it.
Why wasn't that Flash Thompson for you? I'm curious.
Because Flash Thompson is a football jock bully that picks on the tiny Peter Parker. To me, and that's okay.
So the fact that Flash Thompson didn't play football was the issue because he is a bully who picks on Peter Parker.
But was he a bully?
Yes, he was.
A verbal bully. It just and that guys.
So in today's society where verbal abuse is a big issue,
that is today's society. What kids are growing up with now. That's great. And
Mike, I encourage you to let people finish their point so that you can have your point. Like you're talking over Michael, so just make sure we
Michael, which Michael?
Separate like Mike. Yeah, Michael, you're talking over Mike. Let Mike finish, and then you jump in. Like I just want to make sure because this is going to be a bitch to edit if we're all talking over each other. Is what I'm saying.
I have the mic.
No, but I want Kalinowski to talk. I just want to make sure that let people get their points out. Then we're creating space for you.
I just find it interesting that when, for example, when I point out that I don't like the way that Jonathan Kent is portrayed in Man of Steel, you say it's time for a new interpretation. I loved what Kevin Costner did. I don't need the same old thing that's been in the comics and the Donner films. I want something new. And then when Spider-Man Homecoming comes out, you say, I don't like it. It's not my Flash Thompson. He's supposed to be a bully. So I'm actually just curious from your own personal opinion. Which is it? Because when it's DC doing something different, you're pro, but when Marvel does something, you're saying it's an issue? I'm just curious.
That's interesting.
No, because it is a matter of what resonates with me. The Pa Kent resonated in Man of Steel because that is absolutely what a man in today's United States, Trump's America, would say to his son. It would. The Flash Thompson
Which
is
one?
being...
Wait, the John Schneider one?
No, the Kevin Costner.
Okay.
Would do exactly that. And I was favorable to me. The other one with the Flash Thompson, like, you know, and as much Marissa Tomei, gorgeous, but that's not the Aunt May that I have envisioned, and that's okay. And I enjoyed. You guys know me. I loved the Spider-Man film,
Right.
But it just wasn't Spider-Man. Like a perfect example, Jeremy Irons, different Alfred than we've ever seen before, and it worked for me. Marvel does so many things with their character that work for me. Their Captain America is different from the comics, but it's fantastic. Chris Evans is Captain America now.
He really is, yeah.
But he's not what I would have originally envisioned.
Well, and I think the point here is like 3 out of 4 people in this car love Man of Steel, right? 3 out of 4, and that's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
But
You know what? The driver doesn't like it. If you keep this up, the driver's going to drive
But
right
also,
the fuck off this road.
No, but I want to.
And
but
let me say real quick.
I'm saying this to reinforce your point.
Yeah.
In that, yes, if they had made a film that was universally loved, we are willing to accept a new Superman and like a new Superman. When Wonder Woman is a perfect example of that. Everyone said Linda Carter was the Wonder Woman, would never be surpassed, would never be beat. They could never find a Wonder Woman. And then the Gal Gadot was a lot of people liked her, but then a lot of people didn't like her as well in BVS, but she really killed it as Wonder Woman, and now she's accepted. So if you do a good movie, people are willing to accept new versions of heroes.
I think geek culture is a very funny thing because we all say that we want it to be a certain way, and then when you do something different, we're all very reticent about it. But then it's very funny because Heath Ledger's Joker is not the Joker of the comic books.
Fair enough.
That movie came out, and pretty much resoundingly, everybody was like, "I'll take it."
Yeah.
Yes. So it's geek culture, and this is where Comic-Con, just to bring it back around, is so funny because we go to Comic-Con every year. You go to these panels. They bring out the celebrities. They bring out the directors. You talk about what's happening. You see the trailers, and then we all get on Twitter and we all get on Facebook and we all argue and we duke it out. But it's like I was saying, at the end of the day, great story is a great story, and we, whether it's the paying deference to the original source material and you really love that it got it right, or you do something completely different. It's like, if you do it right and it's a great story and it's grounded in some kind of emotional basis, like, the audience will go with you. I personally think Man of Steel was not, but that's just me.
And Shannon, do you have anything to weigh in on this one?
Well, I didn't love Man of Steel. I liked Man of Steel. I thought...
Well,
okay, easy.
Shannon and I have watched that movie twice together.
I am closer to John and Kalinowski's opinion than I am to Vogel's.
Yeah.
But as I left Man of Steel, I saw Man of Steel 3 times. I saw it the first time, and I was like, oh, that was all right. It's not perfect, but it was a really good step in the right direction.
Yeah.
The second time I saw it, I liked it a lot more. And the third time I saw it, I really liked it.
Yeah.
But, I understand Kalinowski's. I understand your point. I don't agree with it, but I understand it.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
You do. I would argue that you have to love a movie to keep watching it over and over again.
Yes.
I would have to say, right? I mean, like, you don't watch something you don't love over and over again.
Well, no. Because what has happened, and I can only speak for me.
Well,
The first time I saw Baby Driver,
yes,
I was, I went with a friend of ours, Eric Norris, and we saw a matinee. We had a couple of drinks beforehand, and I saw Baby Driver, and I didn't really like it that much. I was like, I really don't understand the love. I mean, it's okay.
Right.
And then I went and saw it with my wife because she wanted to see it, and did not have a couple of drinks, and I thought it was fantastic. I think sometimes, for me, knowing what the movie is, like, once I kind of understand it and where it's going, I will start to appreciate more and more aspects of it. If I can go and, like, love a movie the first time out, that's fantastic. It doesn't happen a lot, but it's fantastic. The first time I saw Avengers, I loved it. The first time I saw The Dark Knight, I loved it.
Right.
Other films, it takes a second for me to really appreciate it.
Well, that's the reverse for me because I have to drink a couple of drinks to enjoy Transformers. I cannot enjoy Transformers sober in any way, shape, or form. The best way to watch a Transformers movie is completely toasted, and I was for the last one, so there we go. All right, so that's a good conversation about the Marvel vs. DC thing, so let's move on to something happier. Let's argue about top 10 comic book movies.
All right.
Now, just
how are we going to do this?
We'll just talk about the ones you like.
Okay.
Let's just, I'll make a pseudo list.
Why don't we start easy? Why don't we start easy? Can we all agree that Dark Knight is in the top 10?
Yes.
Top 5.
Kalinowski?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wonder Woman, top 5?
Wonder Woman. I think we're all in agreement.
Shannon, will you write these? Or do you want me to write it down on my phone?
Yeah, no, I got it.
Okay.
All right.
So we all agree Dark Knight, top 10.
Top 10, Dark Knight, definitely.
Wonder Woman.
Definitely.
Weigh
in here, Shannon. You agree?
Yes.
Which? Let's.
Avengers?
Avengers and Deadpool?
Avengers. I'll accept Deadpool in top 10.
I would say Avengers. I would say Deadpool top 10, not top 5.
I'd
top
say
10. Top 10.
I'd say Avengers. I will not put Deadpool in the top 10.
Wow.
Yeah. Only because
That's a strong statement, Mike.
I'll say this only because it's the first time in the theater with your bunch of friends, drinking, having a great time. I went and bought it, put it on. I ended up cleaning the house 10 minutes in because the jokes, you saw it all.
Okay.
It's a one-time, throw it for your friends, have a great time at the movies.
We'll put Deadpool on the maybe list if we can out-argue Mike Kalinowski, but hold on.
It is on the maybe list.
Logan. Shouldn't Logan be on there, or do you not consider that a comic book movie?
Oh, no, it's absolutely a comic book movie.
Okay.
I don't know if I would put it in the top 10.
Logan? Logan is in the top 2 of movies of this year.
Well, what about the other X movies? Like, which X-Men movies are in contention for the top 10?
I think X2.
X2 or Days of Future Past?
X2.
I would say X2.
I'd say X2.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think Logan. No.
God, that's tough.
That third act.
That's tough for me to hear.
I do feel it's going to be crazy for me to say this on your podcast. I agree with Kalinowski.
Oh! I give you the De Niro. Oh!
I love the beginning of Logan. I love the setup of Logan. I love the middle of Logan. About the time that they start driving into your literally and figuratively into the third act, I think it does slow down a bit more than I wanted it to, and I wanted a bigger set piece for the finale.
Agreed.
That being said, I would put it over by Deadpool for a minute. Let's see what other comic book movies we come on. I could see it I could see it for me making it on the bottom of the list.
I could see it being 10. Yeah.
Okay. Now, what about Christopher Reeve Superman, 1978 Superman? That's got to be on there, right? Top 10?
I mean, I think that is the movie that kind of like kicked off superheroes, but I also know that I'm going to get pushed back from the back seat of my car, so...
Not from the front seat of your car, so if it's a democracy...
How many have we got so far?
Okay, hold on. For the definite top 10, Dark Knight, Wonder Woman, Avengers, X2. On the maybe, we have Deadpool, Logan, and Superman.
What about
Guardians of the Galaxy?
Oh, yeah, I would put that in there.
I would put it top 10, yes.
Yeah.
Just
Kalinowski?
for what it did.
The second one or the first one?
First one.
First
For
I love the
what it
second
did and how it changed the genre.
I love the second one. I'm Mary Poppins, y'all, but the first one...
And Iron Man 1.
Iron Man 1. There is no MCU without Iron Man 1.
It is a great movie. It was perfectly cast, and it did kick off one of the most amazing cinematic feats in our lifetimes.
Okay, so then if we're doing that with Reeve and that, we have 89 Batman.
No, it doesn't hold up. I will not put that in
for
the top
what
10.
it did for
I will not put that.
not only comic book movies, but just blockbusters in general. What it did for it created the blockbuster, the merchandise blockbuster.
No, Jaws did that. Star Wars.
Jaws and Star Wars created the blockbuster, sir.
The merchandise event, summer event.
Yes, I don't know if
I don't think Jaws even was opened in the summer.
Jaws created a blockbuster. Star Wars literally created the action figure concept. George Lucas sold more. No, Batman did not kick off blockbuster merchandising. Star Wars did. That's a crazy statement.
Okay. What about
debate that later?
No, please, there's no debate on that. Stop it.
We want to put a Captain America, a Winter Soldier.
Yeah, I was going to say Winter Soldier should be in top 10.
I agree. Also, I'm going to say something bold about this. I wouldn't put the 89 Batman, but I would have a discussion about Batman Returns.
Oh man, I would. You know what? Here. I would take Batman Returns over the first Batman.
Nope.
Yes, I agree.
No.
Michelle, motherfucking Pfeiffer, like that. Pfeiffer.
What are we at?
We have 6: Dark Knight, Wonder Woman, Avengers, X2, Guardians, Iron Man, Winter Soldier.
Now, what about Spider-Man? Spider-Man 2 or Spider-Man Homecoming?
I disagree. I don't think Spider-Man. I don't think the Raimi films hold up.
I agree with Shannon. I used to say that Spider-Man 2 is one of the top superhero movies of all time. I watched it relatively recently, and although I still have a respect for it, and up to a month ago, I would have said it was the best Spider-Man movie that there was. I think Homecoming is a far better movie and a far more perfect Peter Parker.
So would you put that in a top 10?
I personally would.
Okay. Put it in the maybes.
Well, it's in the maybes.
Now, what about any of the outside comic book movies?
What about
like
300?
Like 300?
Best comic book for what?
I'm gonna go deep here. I know I'm gonna get shot down, but I have to say, the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, live action.
You're way
live
off.
action. I
You're
know.
way off.
I know.
I could almost see but what are the criteria for it? Like
it was completely faithful to the source material.
I
the
would
animatronic.
I'd side with you on that.
The animatronic Turtles and Splinter.
Buddy,
like,
I'd side with you,
from
man.
From the Henson Company were amazing. Like I still think, as cheesy as it is, it still kind of holds up as being
it holds
kind of
up
awesome.
incredibly well.
Now, what about Civil War?
No, Winter Soldier is a far better film.
I love Civil War, and I could see making the argument for it, but out of that and Winter Soldier, I would go Winter Soldier.
What about The Incredibles?
Oh, shit. Wait, but that's not a comic book.
Okay. Okay, so it's superhero but not comic.
Yes,
Okay.
superhero movies, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, comic book movies, right.
Yeah.
Okay, let me throw some out there that are on the fringe, right? The Crow? No.
No.
Scott Pilgrim? Even though we all love Scott Pilgrim.
Let's put it in the maybes.
It's an amazing. I mean, I know it's underrated. I know it didn't do great at the box office, but just visually, what they did with that movie is so amazingly original.
How about guys?
Yeah.
I know we've already got one of them in there, but what about Batman Begins?
We just discussed that
No.
like 2 seconds ago.
Begins is the.
Oh, no. No. If you're going to put Dark Knight, you don't need to put anybody else. Like any of the Nolans. None of the Nolans are even close
Just
to
so
Dark
we know, just so everyone knows, Batman Begins is the best in the Nolan trilogy for me personally. I like a little bit of comic book in my comic book movie.
I'm about to have a conniption on my own podcast.
No, because The Dark Knight is heat with a guy in a bat suit. And as great as it is, it's not a comic book movie.
You say that like it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
And I don't, but I'm just saying I'd like the fact that Chicago, I mean, in Dark Knight, it's Chicago. There's no Gotham City.
All right, some other fringe ones.
The driver disagrees.
He's right, yeah, the driver's gonna kill us. Some other fringe ones. Hellboy. Do any of the Hellboys make it a top 10?
No.
Okay. V for
Not
Vendetta.
Not to me.
Golden Army's better than the first, but no.
Okay.
It is.
You think
Golden Army's much better.
I'm not. I love Hellboy the comics. I love Del Toro. The Hellboy movies don't quite gel for me.
Okay, how about V for Vendetta? No.
No.
Watchmen.
No.
Although I will defend Watchmen.
Yes.
It's a lot better now. Rewatching it now.
Watchmen's fantastic.
It actually is really good.
Watchmen's great. It's gonna be what an HBO show. That's what it should have been originally.
I agree
but
with that.
the TV landscape was not what it was.
Okay, what about Dread? The 3D.
No,
The
great film, but no.
Dread is the Carl Urban.
Yeah, the
right?
Carl Urban Dread,
It
yeah.
is really good.
It's actually really
Great
good.
film. Great. That is a 90-minute movie. It should be 90 minutes, not Dark Tower.
Okay. What about Ant-Man?
No.
No.
I mean, I really love Ant-Man, but I don't know his top 10.
Yeah, this is not saying that these movies aren't great. It's just top 10 worthy.
Okay. So how many do we have that are officially in the list?
We have 7 that are in the list,
Ooh.
and we have 3 spots. And on the maybes, here's what we have:
Okay.
300, which I would say that's a realistic possibility.
Okay.
300, Homecoming, Spider-Man Homecoming, Deadpool, Logan, Superman, Scott Pilgrim. I think Superman kind of has to go on.
I think Superman the movie has to be on.
Yeah, I'd say Superman has to be on there just for what it was. And then I put Logan in 300 with those ones.
I would put 300. I would actually fight for Logan really hard. I really would, but I have to, I respect the car.
I kind of feel like maybe because we're talking about 2 different things. There's the enjoyment of the movie, how much did you like this movie, and then what did the movie do? Right. And I think what's interesting about Superman and 300 and Logan is, although I have my issues with each of them, they each very clearly brought something to the table that was brand new. Like Superman really is the first superhero movie.
Yes.
That really defined taking a comic book and bringing it to the big screen. With some iconic characters, some amazing actors that nailed it. 300 is a visual masterpiece. Mm-hmm.
Agreed.
Where you literally brought what Frank Miller had on the page and you pretty much put it on screen. And Logan, for as much as Cal was saying, just what Kalinowski and I feel about the third act, that's taking a superhero character and maturing him and putting him in a movie that's much darker and more serious than anything we've previously seen. And I think that it needs to get its credit for that.
There's a value in getting it right, and they finally got Wolverine right for one movie.
Well, and I will say that's the most. I mean, Wolverine is the only trilogy that I can think of where the movies get progressively better through 3 movies.
Yeah,
but
agree
also
with that.
To go off of you said with Superman, that is why I would fight for Batman. Of what it changed, of how Batman up until then was the '66 version. No one wanted to make that, and that's what they were all going to make it. But to make him in the outfit with the casting, what they did, that is something.
I dressed as the Joker to go see that movie. I was so excited about it. I was all
that
about
explains
Batman,
a lot about you and me. It explains a lot, right? I
does.
went dressed as Batman.
Well,
that explains
it's
everything.
It's going to be an interesting weekend.
What about Kick-Ass?
Wait, hold on. I was just going to say this. Superman, there had never been a superhero film. 300, visual masterpiece, Logan, maturing a character. Batman, what you just described was changing the character of Batman in a way that had never been done before. But what did Batman the movie do for the comic book industry? Because Batman came out. And it was yeah.
Dude,
Batman the animated series.
that spawned the dark and gritty 90s of everything had to be dark, everything had to be everything went that way.
Frank Miller did that with Dark Knight Returns.
That's true.
No. Yes, he did. He did that for his hold on. Let me rephrase that. He did for his comic, but not every other comic did that until the 90s. That's why the comic book industry imploded in the 90s, because everything was trying to replicate that and go off of that. Every comic movie had to be the next Batman. It had to be dark and gritty.
But what comic book movies came out after that were dark and gritty, that revolutionized? Because and look, I'm not taking anything away. I love Batman and Batman Returns. After that, things get a little hinky.
Yeah.
But my point is, Batman didn't jumpstart comic book movies the way that Iron Man did, for example. Like
Neither did Superman, though.
No, but Superman was the first.
And last for a decade.
Man.
It's last for the decade. It didn't really do anything after that.
But I didn't say that Superman jump-started a superhero. You're saying that Batman, the movie, jump-started what, gritty superhero movies, gritty comic books? What, like I'm not quite sure.
I don't know the exact words. I'm gonna go find it because it was on the DVD. It had a whole documentary with news and media of just how it changed.
What's your opinion, though, Mike?
What do you mean, my opinion?
If you're regurgitating what you, yeah, what do you mean?
Because Batman was the first one.
If you're regurgitating what you've read, I want to know what you actually believe. Like, what do you believe?
Because it changed everything. Everything was different after Batman.
But like what was
everything
different?
is
what was different?
Because everything is too general of a term.
The fact that everything, ever since then, people throw casting. Anytime casting is different, they're like, remember Michael Keaton with Batman? Remember when they took a chance with him? Is there any time now for casting where it's not Arnold Schwarzenegger for the big, strong guy? They throw it back to Michael Keaton. Remember him with Batman? Everyone had a problem with that. Ever since then, that was the first choice. Christopher Reeve, they didn't put Woody Allen as Clark Kent. They went with a guy that was square-jawed, blue-eyed, perfect fit for Superman.
Okay. I reject your correlation, Mike. I reject your correlation. Woody wouldn't be the
But again, so you're saying, so the thing that Batman changed was
that's
casting
the one
someone
that's coming. That's the thing. The one thing that's coming to mind. The fact that they would bring in Superman. They did. What did they do? They went to fucking New York, and that's Metropolis, and they didn't do anything to hide it. They went and they built Gotham City from the ground up. They didn't go, we're going to go somewhere different. I'm telling you everything about that film, from the costume design. They took a gray spandex suit. Who thinks to go, you know what? Let's make rubber muscles, black this, black that. They changed the look of Batman. Superman was exactly what they did. Page to screen. Batman, they took it. That's why for a film, it took what was on the comic page to a movie and just didn't regurgitate. It did something completely different.
What you are describing,
yes,
which is 100% accurate, is all the reasons that the 1989 Batman was an amazing film. Tim Burton is an amazing visual director.
And why I say it should be top 10.
It's 100% a visual masterpiece. It looks great. It's all those things. That does not explain how Batman changed the comic book and or movie industry.
I'm telling.
This
is a longer discussion for a longer period.
What are you talking? We've been talking about it for 25 minutes. Mike.
The comic book industry changed after Batman came out.
No, the comic book industry changed after Dark Knight Returns came out, and Tim Burton was very inspired by Dark Knight Returns and the gritty Batman to make a darker Batman movie, not the other way around.
Which I would argue now does not hold up. It is not dark in any way, shape, or form.
And I will say this,
it's campy more than anything else now.
My brother and I watched Batman Returns recently, and what was actually very funny is that I realized that as dark as it was when it came out, and people are like, oh, this is so bad, Penguin bites a dude's face, whatever, the 1989 Batman movie and Batman Returns feel more like the 60s Batman than anything else compared to what the sophistication that we have in our comic book stories today.
Sure. I agree with that completely, and I think that's what makes Superman stand out for me is it's 78, which is way before the 89 Batman, and yet it still holds up with the authenticity, the vulnerability, and even that stupid flying scene with the song, Melissa Manchester song playing, it's still...
And you read my mind. Like, as much as like that and the fact that he...
ageless.
For me, the problem with, like, that doesn't bother me. For the fact of him spinning around the world to turn back time, That
Fair.
just
But Kalinowski,
I
let's be
don't. I
honest.
can't forgive
But
it
let's be honest.
because it's what it was.
If I could turn back time.
you know, I
But
just
see,
I can't get past
Well,
that.
but how could you get past Superman killing Zod and snapping his neck at the end of Man of Steel?
Because
it's the same thing.
Because
they're
because
both against what we
I'll tell you
think
why for
Superman's
that.
supposed
I'll
to
tell you
be.
why for that.
Okay.
Because Superman made a choice to be the last son of Krypton. He did not have to be alone anymore.
When did he say that in the movie?
Again, referring, and here we go.
But
so what did
I love your additions to movies to make it work. For
That's not an addition. That is a.
So just show me the script where he says it.
These are what like, you guys.
I did love it Superman 2 when Superman killed Zod in that movie too, but no one has a problem with it.
Zod killed himself by jumping in.
Oh, and let's say this: how does Superman deal with a bully in Man of Steel? He destroys his truck. How does Superman deal with a bully in Superman? Crushes the man's hand. He physically assaults
Superman
that
2,
man.
you mean? Superman 2.
That is not Clark Kent. Clark Kent would never crush someone's hand like that and use his own power against one. Man of Steel, Henry Cavill, he's like, you know what? My dad taught me better than this. All right, your truck. That can be replaced.
My xenophobic father taught me really
Sorry.
good lessons.
Nope.
Hey, whoa.
Point made.
No, because I agree with Mike. I'm with Kalinowski. With Kalinowski.
Am I being censored in my own car?
No. I just.
Guys, I'm going to piss myself.
Oh, yeah, we got to stop at some point. Okay, so. All right, so where are we at now? How many do we have now?
We have 2 spots left. Okay,
All right.
I went ahead and put 300 on
Who's
the top
that? Is that
10.
me?
I'm getting FaceTime. Hold on, I'm turning it off.
Okay.
So we have 2 spots left for Deadpool, Logan, Homecoming, or Scott Pilgrim.
Oh, and do we want to include? Is 300?
300 I put on the top 10.
Okay.
So we have 2 spots.
What about Chronicle? Does anyone want to throw Chronicle in there? It's
Well,
not a
no,
comic book.
because that's the Incredibles argument.
Yeah.
We have to do Incredibles.
Okay. All right, so then shit. Well, then we have to do it by democracy because I want Logan in there.
How many spots do we have left?
We have 2 spots left.
Rotten Tomatoes has it as #1 comic book movie, well-reviewed, ever made.
Logan.
What about Coraline?
Stop it.
Oh, God, shut up.
Stop it. Not even.
Oh, apparently I'm the only Neil Gaiman fan in here. That's cool.
A silence falls over the car.
I want any of your followers that actually agree with me that Coraline is a really good adaptation of an amazing Neil Gaiman book can go ahead and comment.
Well, all right, so what are the 4 we have left again, Shannon?
Homecoming, Deadpool, Logan, or Scott Pilgrim.
Shit, man. I would fight for Homecoming and Logan. I mean, I could accept Deadpool not being on there. I can accept that. And
I would fight for Scott Pilgrim.
you know what? You won't get in a fight back from me. I love Scott Pilgrim. Should we put it in there? Vogel? Of those 4.
I really think
It does seem wrong to me, just inherently, that we're going to do a top 10 comic book movie list and not have a Spider-Man movie on it.
So you would say Homecoming and what else?
I don't know way Homecoming is top 10 superhero of all time. No way.
It's #7 on Rotten Tomatoes.
No.
I would probably go out of those movies, but you're not going to agree. It's tough. Wait. Read what we have on the list so far.
Dark Knight, Wonder Woman, Avengers, X2, Guardians of the Galaxy, Iron Man, Winter Soldier, Superman, 300. I would take 300 off, but Scott Pilgrim on.
Yeah, I would take 300 off, and I would go Scott Pilgrim, Logan, and Homecoming.
I'm cool with that. Kalinowski?
I'll put Logan on.
Okay.
I will not accept Homecoming on that list.
Ooh.
I will take Deadpool over Homecoming.
Oof.
And I like Homecoming as a better movie. But I like it as a person that enjoys watching the movies. I'll probably watch that more times. But Deadpool gave us something that.
Deadpool gave you cleaning your apartment after 10 minutes because you already heard all the jokes.
Here we.
What are we talking about? Like I like how Deadpool was like not even going to be on the top 10
because
you
when
didn't
I
think it was
first
funny.
saw it with you guys, the reaction that it created for me, everything about it, that an R-rated, faithful superhero, great. It doesn't mean like a lot of these films I won't watch again. Or I don't throw on every now and then. I will watch Batman Begins over Dark Knight all the time. But The Dark Knight, yes, is a better film. And you guys should all agree, I'm not fighting for it because it doesn't deserve to be on there. BVS does not deserve to be on there. But I will watch that movie more than almost any one of these.
Well, that's more of a guilty
So that's what I'm
pleasure.
saying. Yeah, so I'm saying, like,
A very
Homecoming,
guilty
I'm
pleasure.
sorry. I'll give you Logan, Scott
Okay.
Pilgrim, but I will not give Homecoming on that list.
So who would you take of the 2 that are left? You would put Deadpool on over Homecoming?
Oh, yeah. I take Deadpool over Homecoming.
I feel like maybe we have to have like the Kalinowski list and the right list.
No. A year from now, Homecoming will not be anyone's top 10
you know what?
comic book movie list.
It's my podcast, and I have to be fair here. I think because Kalinowski fighting for 3 movies that are not going to make the list.
That's true.
I feel like he should get 1 on the list. and this is part of my top 10, the top 10 show thing coming in here. So I will accept Deadpool at 10 and take Homecoming off, which pains me to do, but I understand Kalinowski's argument, and he should have, as a participant in this podcast.
I think that's totally fair. I am dropping the three of you off at the next exit. I will see you guys however you make it down to the
Michael
hotel
Vogel,
tonight.
you're okay with the Spider-Man movie where he never even used a spider sense? You're okay with that?
Well, it's only the beginning, though, Mike.
It's
just
the spider sense is like the Batmobile. You don't do a Batman movie without the Batmobile.
That's like yes. In the same way that I am okay with a Joker movie where he didn't get dropped into a vat of acid, I'm okay with not doing Spidey sense.
And Spidey used it in Civil War. There was a scene during the airport fight.
Yes.
He uses his spider sense.
He does.
What? Absolutely.
Yes,
when
he does.
is fighting Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yes.
He goes, "Oh God," at one point because the Winter Soldier throws a sign at him.
Yep.
He is looking the opposite direction and he knows it's coming. That is Spidey sense.
Yep. Damn, now you're making me feel like I should put Homecoming on there.
Also, just not for nothing. Now look, I mean, I'll give it to Kalinowski that. Well, no, like
The fuck was that?
That was me actually going to argue with Kalinowski and then kind of agreeing with Kalinowski and getting upset that I was agreeing with Kalinowski and then realizing that I had to sort of agree with him, which makes me mad. The same way that we were using the criteria of what did you do for the comic book industry, I love Spider-Man Homecoming, but a R-rated adult comic book movie has clearly. We wouldn't have Logan without Deadpool.
And
Agreed.
how many films are trying to see in their library?
Yeah.
What superhero can we do R-rated like
it's true.
that?
It's true.
Thank you, Michael.
All right, I'll give it to him.
It's a combo. It's a combo of Guardians and Logan Logan and Guardian. Come on, it's a combo of Guardians and Deadpool that creates Logan. So yeah.
So Logan and Scott Pilgrim.
I think there's one we're missing that should take
yes.
Scott Pilgrim's place. But I will concede the fact.
What is the one that you think is missing?
I don't know, but I just feel like we're missing something.
No, I think Scott Pilgrim belongs on there. We just have a love for that film.
I would take Civil War. I would take Civil War over Scott Pilgrim. I know it's not even on our maybes, but I'd take Civil War over Scott
Captain
Pilgrim.
America Civil War over Scott Pilgrim.
Just because of that airport scene alone. But again, what does it add to?
You already got Deadpool, man.
I know, man. I know. I'm just spitballing here.
So we're doing Deadpool instead of Logan.
No, Deadpool and Logan. No Homecoming. How many we got?
I may have counted incorrectly.
God, Shan, we've been fighting for some. All right, do it again. You had one job, Shannon.
I know. I'm not good.
All right, read off the 10 or possibly 11 that are on the list now.
Dark Knight.
Because we got to end this podcast soon. It's 100. It's at 90 minutes now.
Dark Knight, Wonder Woman, Avengers, X2, Guardians, Iron Man, Winter Soldier, Superman, Logan, Deadpool, Scott Pilgrim. That's 11.
Oh no, Deadpool's not. You didn't write it on there, so we're missing one.
Well, because I wasn't sure what we were.
Scott Pilgrim, get rid of Deadpool over Scott Pilgrim.
I've said my piece.
You've kept Homecoming off, so I defer to you guys on this one.
Probably.
Read the list again. I feel like I didn't hear you the first time. Read the list again.
We'll edit out like 3 of these read-throughs.
Oh, will we? Go ahead, Shannon.
Dark Knight, Wonder Woman, Avengers, X2, Guardians, Iron Man, Winter Soldier, Superman, Logan, Deadpool, Scott Pilgrim.
God.
That's 11. So one has to come off.
Shit.
Or one doesn't. It's your choice, John.
No, we have to.
You're breaking the laws already. Break the law of the top 10, make it 11. That's what an outlaw does.
All right, that's a good point. Shannon McClung,
the outlaw.
That's it. Shannon McClung. That's perfect. There you go. That's our top 11 of the top 10 superhero movies or comic book movies, rather. There you go. I don't want to keep talking about it. We did a great job, I think, hashing this out. That lets you know compromise is possible, people. You can sit down, you can hash it out with your friends, and come up with top 10. And look, no one's angry. No one's storming.
Are you guys
off
surprised
in
I
nerd
didn't try
rage.
and even throw BVS even anyone near there? You guys surprised?
Not surprised. You knew we were going to shut down from the beginning.
What? Come on.
I don't even have a response to that.
I didn't even think it would be in there. It's not. It's just not. All those films on there.
All right.
They're all my films.
So I think that's an awesome list. Thank you, Shannon McClung, for keeping us honest and writing it all down so that we wouldn't forget it.
Thank you for your forgiveness for my miscounting.
That's all right. It worked out. Right?
He's a writer, not a mathematician, everyone, and an actor.
All right, so that's the show. That's the Outlaw Nation podcast. I think we're real close to San Diego. Mike's Kalinowski's going to piss himself, so we should pull off,
guys.
We should get some food, get some lunch or something, and so we're going to stop the podcast now. Thanks everybody for listening to this week's podcast. I hope we didn't annoy you or bore you. I hope you enjoyed this conversation. Went all over the place. We had a lot to talk about, and of course, I'll be back next week with a new episode. I might be interviewing someone that I've been waiting to interview for quite some time. I'm trying to line it up. We'll see if we get it done. But in the meantime, let's go around the car and find out where everybody can find you. Mike Vogel.
You can find me on Twitter at MKToon at MKToon. Yeah.
Perfect.
That's it. I'll see y'all on Twitter.
Do you want to promote the movie?
Yeah, go see the My Little Pony movie coming out October 6th in theaters everywhere. It's going to be a lot of fun, an amazing cast of crazy characters, and it is action-packed, which might sound funny for a pony movie, but it's true.
Awesome. Kalinowski.
Guys, you can find me at Mike Kalinowski on Twitter, Instagram. Also got a big match coming up against Miss Movies, Brianne Chandler, on the Schmoedown over there, Collider.
On the
Check
Schmoedown.
that out. I think it's dropping out this. We're going to be going for it this weekend or this Friday. I think during Comic-Con, which would be awesome. Yeah,
Yep.
check me out there, guys.
Oh, and are you pushing anything else, Mike? Do you have any appearances?
Just made an appearance on General Hospital this week. My character joined the show, so
Nice.
I don't know when I'll be showing up again, but hopefully you'll be seeing much more of me on the show.
Awesome. And my friend Shannon McClung.
You can follow me on Twitter at Shannon_McClung, MCCLUNG. I have a fan page on Facebook that's just Shannon McClung fan page. My agents would really like it if you liked it. You can see me on Friends from College right now, episode 6 on Netflix, and I am going to be on the 3rd episode of a new Fox show, which I don't know if I'm allowed to say.
Okay.
But it's a sci-fi comedy, so if you look
Well, that's
online, you
awesome.
can probably figure it out.
Awesome. Shannon, you're amazing. Thank you. All right. So, and you guys know I'm at the Rocha Says, ROCHA, on Twitter and on Instagram. You guys can watch me every Friday on Collider Movie Talk at 10 a.m. Like I said, I'll be live at the Movie Talk on Thursday here at Comic-Con. Also, this is the Outlaw. Never mind. The Top 10 show came back. We came back. We just counted on the Top 10 comeback films. You can go check it out on the SK Plus podcast channel. And also, I am now officially a columnist at thetrackingboard.com. That's tracking-board.com. Jeff Snyder is my boss, the In Snyder, and I just finished writing about Andy Serkis, and I'll be writing a new article every Tuesday and Thursday. I'll be dropping a new column on there. Is that everything I do? And the Cinephiles. The Cine-Files on Stitcher, on iTunes, and on YouTube. Steve and I break down a classic movie. We're going to drop Iron Man, ironically enough, on Friday. So you can download the Cinephiles, Cine-Files on iTunes and listen to me there. All right. Thanks, everybody, so much for the time, for listening, and leave your comments. Maybe argue with us all on Twitter about what you think we left out and the reasons for why. We always love going back and forth with people and talking about this stuff. It's always a good time. And if you're going to Comic-Con, have an awesome time. And if you're not going to Comic-Con, live vicariously through our stuff. Does anybody else have something they want to say? Anything in?
It's been a pleasure. Thank you for having us on here.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you. It's been a fun drive.
Happy emoji.
There we go. All right. We'll see you all next week on the Outlaw Nation podcast.